right? This is the application of the second type of radars, which is known as secondary radar. Okay, so if you remember secondary radars, we had a discussion that how it works. It has two different frequencies. One frequency is the one in which it transmits, the other is the one in which it would receive. Okay, so that is the secondary radar. You can see the principal operation mentioned here, secondary radar. All right. Welcome, Sakshi. Good evening. All right. So why do we need a secondary radar and why do we need an application as such? Because there are many disadvantages of a primary radar. Okay, because we are using the same signal to send and the same thing is reflected and comes back in both. You can see there's a lot of energy that we are wasting, and when we are wasting energy we are losing range. So in order to increase the range we use such secondary radars. Okay, they also lack positive individual aircraft identification. I know I taught you that if two aircrafts are close together within 150 meters, normally and radar will not be able to identify the individual, or they will not be able to distinguish between them. Okay, as I told you, they require a higher transmitting power. Okay, so both of the points I've covered here, that because it has to travel two ways, it requires a lot of power. Secondly, you can see in this type of radar, there is nothing you can do to individually identify such aircrafts. You might not even know which aircraft is what. That is why we need SSR, or simply secondary radar. Okay, so it works in this way. You can see the red lines or the red arrows, they are one frequency. Let's say frequency A. The blue arrows, okay, the blue ones, you can see those are transmitted by the aircraft. Those are the B ones, or the B type. So these are two different frequencies. Okay, these are two different frequencies, and hence we are saving a lot of energy in terms of frequency. So the power required is less and the range is higher. What do we require for a secondary radar? We require these devices known as transmitter and receiver. Okay, transmitter or receiver is known as cumulatively as a transponder. Okay, the transponder is the device which transmits the frequency. And what is an interrogator? Interrogator is the one which receives or identifies the frequency. Okay, how does it work? It basically, as we remember in our VOR ILS, we had different frequencies. So the pilot tunes to the frequency. Whenever the pilot tunes to the frequency, then only that particular radio aid or the frequency is able to be noticed by the aircraft. The same way we are having a 4-digit 4-figure code. That code is separate and that is unique for every aircraft. Okay, and that is how that particular ground station, okay, that particular ground station will be able to identify which aircraft is which. Okay, so that's the same thing written here. Okay, by the ATC, and transmitter will transmit information. The information which is passed on is the pressure, altitude, or the flight level. Okay, the ground speed, destination, call sign, flight number. I remember in the primary radar we only had the distance and the bearing, but here what are we having? We have the flight level. We even have the destination, the call sign. Call sign is what? Whatever the registration mark is this. For example, Victor Tango, Foxtrot, Golf Delta. All these are call signs. Now these are the call signs which distinguish every aircraft. So it is very important. Okay. The transmissions are therefore only one way, from the transmitter to the receiver. Okay. Transmitter to the receiver, then the aircraft becomes a transmitter, then the aircraft transmits, and the second one receives. Okay. What are the advantages? As we know, it requires less power, gives clutter-free responses, as it does not rely on returning the reflected pulses. Positively identifies an aircraft. That's the most important thing. indicates an aircraft's track history, speed, altitude, and destination. You will see there are different types or modes of the SSR which have this feature. It can also indicate on the controllers or your ATC tower, whatever the controller is, screen that an aircraft has an emergency. So there is a different 4-digit code allocated for in case any aircraft has an emergency, so that the ATC tower or the controller can see on the screen that this aircraft is an emergency, and that has to be given utmost priority. This can also be useful in loss of communication. So when you have no communication, how will you tell the ATC that you are having an emergency? And this is where the SSR will play the role. That is why this is very useful to you. SSR is used in conjunction with the primary radar. So if the SSR or the secondary radar, you can see here the picture, the above one is a small one. This is the primary radar. Okay. The below one, this big one. Okay. This is the secondary radar. Okay. So here we are doing what? We are using both of them to have a cumulative advantage. So advantage we have both. And in this case, they are put together. So it is called co-location. So these radars, these two different types of radars are co-located. SSR frequencies and transmissions. So what are the frequencies? The ground station transmits at a frequency at 1030 megahertz. All right. So the ground station has, we're taking the first example, 1030 megahertz. The aircraft transmits or transpons on 1090. Okay. So you can see the interrogation is given here. The reply is given in 1090. So that there is a change in frequency. Okay, there's a change of plus 60 megahertz. After a delay of 50 microseconds, we'll understand why there's a delay in 50 microseconds later. Why is this a delay? The SSR ground antenna transmits a narrow beam in the horizontal plane while the aircraft transmits omnidirectionally. Okay, why is that? Because the ATC tower knows and would like to actually direct to that particular aircraft, whereas the aircraft transmits omnidirectionally because it's not just giving the signals to this ATC. It might give to other ATC, and we'll understand that the aircraft does not just give the signals or the frequency outwards to just the ATC. It is also giving to other aircrafts, and there is a different mode to that. That's why we'll understand. You can see in this is a perfect diagram. You'll find this is the interrogation. So interrogation basically means, if you remember, see, movies and all, in which the police is interrogating the suspect. So the ATC tower is interrogating the aircraft. Who is he? Okay, who is she? Which aircraft is this? What altitude is it flying at? What is the speed? And when the aircraft sends back the signal or sends its own frequency, whatever it's transmitting at, it is giving all the information to the ATC, and that will be popping up on the screen. That is how the ATC is able to identify that particular aircraft, not just the aircraft's call sign, but its speed, whatever the information is passed on by the aircraft. What's the difference between those? To differentiate between the interrogations, 3 pulses are always transmitted. Why? See, you might have a question by now. If the frequency of transmission is same for all the aircrafts, that is 1090, and the interrogation is 1030, then how do we distinguish the aircraft? I told you, right? There's a 4-digit code. Now that 4-digit code, how is it put or embedded into that frequency? Let's see. We understood that in radars, we have everything in pulses. All the transmissions take place in pulses. So we have 3 different pulses here. Okay, P1, P2, and P3. The spacing between P1 and P2 is fixed. So these two are fixed. That is, this is 2 microseconds, 2 to the power minus 6 seconds. This is fixed. The spacing between P1 and P3 is variable for all the modes. Now we'll understand what are the modes later. We need to understand right now the P1 and P3 The starting point of these pulses, that's where there's a difference. On receiving a valid interrogation, the aircraft transponder transmits two framing pulses. What are these? P1 and P3. Okay, at this. Okay, the aircraft transports are these frames. So there are frames. Okay, in these you have these different numbers you can see. Okay, all these are different numbers. Now this distinguishes the aircraft. Whenever there is any letter, okay, any digit, let's say 2167. All right. So according to this digit, the frequency the aircraft is transmitting on will be embedded. Okay, and that is how we are able to the ATC tower is able to distinguish the particular aircraft. Okay. I'll make you understand more by telling you the modes. There are 3 different modes. Okay, the pulse intervals are called modes itself. So mode A, there will be 8 microseconds difference between what? P1 and P3. Mode B, there is a difference of 17 microseconds. And mode C, there is a difference of 21 microseconds. There is another one, but I'm not going to tell you right now. Okay, mode D is also present, but that's an experimental. It's not used much. Okay, so where's the difference coming here? It's coming here in this section between P1 and P3, and that is how we identify the modes. Now these modes are not your those codes which I told you. Okay, those codes are different. Those codes I distinguish the aircraft. Suppose I have 2122. Okay, this is for aircrafts, and these modes are for the SSR. Okay, the SSR also has a different versions. Okay, like I am using a laptop. Laptops have different models. The same thing is for the SSR. There's a mode A, mode B, mode C. So you can see here the use also is written. The mode A, an intervention to identify an aircraft. So there is just an identification. Victor Tango, Foxtrot Delta, or any aircraft's call sign will be visible on that screen. Okay, so it's easy to identify the aircraft whenever the ATC tower is able to identify the aircraft. They will have better knowledge of the separation. Okay, there are 2 aircraft, A and B, so we know where the aircraft is. This is the mode A, simply giving us the identification. Mode B is also the same as identifying the aircraft. That's the purpose of mode B. There's a slight difference between both of them, and we'll explain you how. Because of the microsecond, there is a gap between both of them. I will explain you the usage in the later slides. Mode C, an interrogation to obtain the automatic height readout. So if an aircraft has a mode C installed, that means that automatically the height of that aircraft will be given out. Okay. Now you might get confused what I taught you in the the SSR gives all of the things like speed, altitude, and all. That is the mode S, which we have not discussed at the moment, and we will discuss that later. Okay, up till now, these are the modes. So you can just imagine that this is being developed slowly. Okay. So where is the aircraft identification used? Okay, we have this thing on board the aircraft known as control unit. Okay, this is where we put the 4-digit code. And where will we get the 4-digit code? We get the 4-digit code from the ATC itself or the flight plan. All right, we get it from the flight plan. So between the framing pulses, there are 12 usable information pulses. Okay. So if there are 12 framing pulses, if I go back and show you where are the 12 framing pulses, I showed you this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there are 12 framing pulses between these two, right? These two are what? If you see 20.3 microseconds apart. Okay, so there are 12 different. So this X1, it has a different use. Okay, we need a resting period or something like that. There's a rest period of. We'll explain what's the use of X here. But there are 12 different messages, and that is why we have how many available codes? we have 2 to the power 12 codes. Why? If you do the PNC, you get these number of codes. Okay, you have 4 places. So you want to apply different digits. So here what will happen is 8 and 9 are not used. So we're left with only from 000 to 777. And we'll see there are defined codes also. If suppose the ATC does not give you the code, then what will you write? So it's already present. We'll explain that also. So you can see in reality, it looks like this. Okay, you can put the codes here. Now 2000, why the pilot has said 2000, we'll understand that. Okay, and I also want to clarify there is one thing here written ident. Okay, it's important. Ident is also good. All right. So let's discuss more about this. Now, as I was telling you, ident is important. We'll discuss ident also. Suppose that you have just flown, okay, and outside the ATC tower does not know who you are. Okay, there are like 100 aircrafts on the screen, and it is not able to identify who you are. Okay, you have your own registration mark. Okay, now how will the aircraft, how will the ATC tower identify this? There is this button ident. Okay, ident means identification. Whenever you press the ident button, there is a pulse that is extra given out. Okay, that pulse is called SPI, or special position identification. Special position identification pulse may be transmitted whenever it is requested by the ATC, or you want to identify, you want to give the identification to the ATC. Okay, you can see here, you never asked me this, but here it was present always. Okay, this is where we'll see that 4.35 microsecond, there is a gap and there is a special position identification sent out. The pulse is after the last framing pulse and will be automatically and continuously transmitted for 20 seconds. Okay, so 20 seconds means that every this gap period will be repeated, and till 20 seconds this will be ident will be shown, and that is how this works. It produces a distinct display that a controller can pick by asking the pilot to squawk ident. You will be familiar with this word once you start flying. It's called squawk ident. Squawk means basically press or show. Okay, so whenever ATC gives you a call, okay, Victor Tango Foxtrot Delta squawk ident, that means that you have to push the ident button so that the ATC may be able to see. It looks like this. Okay, there are a lot of aircrafts on the ATC panel. So if suppose you squawk something, you will be highlighted. Okay, now it's a small example. Okay, I'm the ATC tower and I ask let's say Sarthak to squawk ident. So whenever Sarthak will squawk ident, and I know what is the registration mark of squawk. Okay, so I know the registration mark of Sarthak. So what will I do? Whenever I ask Sarthak to squawk ident, he will highlight himself, and I know his code is Victor Tango Foxtrot Delta. And that is how I will mark him that this is Victor Tango Foxtrot Delta. Okay. Then we have the mode C. As I told you, mode C is used to read the altitude. Okay. When the aircraft receives a mode C interrogation, the transponder will produce a code that corresponds to its height, reference to 1013 hectopascal. If you remember this, this will give us the indication of flight level. Okay, it will give us the indication of flight level. SSR operating procedure. Pilot shall report vertical high levels to the nearest 100 feet. Okay, so that is the reason, because we need more accuracy, and flight levels are always given in this indication. Okay, flight level 050, or just say 50. Okay, you can say 50 of that means that it is 5,000 feet. Okay, 55 is 5,500 feet. 56. We don't say that, but of course we can say any flight level in these terms of these. If on verification there's a difference of more than 300 feet between the level read and the ATC, whatever they're reading on the screen, they will ask you to switch off, or they will ask you to repeat or squawk ident. Anything they can ask you to just give you one other chance to again speak out. What I'm trying to say is basically, if the ATC sees on the screen and you have said that you are flying at 5,000 feet, but on their screen, it is visible because you are having a mode C, it is visible that you're flying at 6,000 feet. So what they do, they'll ask you to restart it, restart your transponder, or press the ident. How can you restart or press the ident? You can see on this device, we have on, altitude, and test. Okay, so altitude button, you can always use that to switch on, switch off, and you can switch off and switch on as you are required. Okay, you should not do it on your own will. It is only when you are required to do that. Let's discuss the special purpose codes. It's basically ICE. Okay, 7700. It's to indicate an emergency condition, and that is E. Okay, E is for emergency. Whenever you're having an emergency on board, you have to put in the four spaces 7700. Whenever you put that, your aircraft will have a highlight on the ATC screen, so they will give you the most attention they can. If you're having a communication failure, you should put 7600. And if you're having a hijack on board, you can simply quietly put 7500 on your SSR or a transponder. Okay, this is known as transponder because you're transponding it. So you can put on your transmitter 7500, because if by chance any hijack takes place, they will ensure that you do not communicate with the ground. So how can you communicate to the ground telling them there is a hijack? Simply by putting 7500. How to remember this? ICE. Okay, 567. Okay, 7004. The aircraft is carrying out aerobatic man. Okay, not mostly used in India because aerobatics are not much famous in India. 700 is famous. 7000 is the aircraft has no specific code. Okay, there is a difference between 2000 and 7000. What is the difference? When operating under VFR rules and above 5. Okay, these are the conditions. And suppose that you are operating less than 1000, flight level 100, that means that you should have 2000. That is how the questions are asked in exams. Okay, these codes are definitely, one of the questions will be definitely asked from these codes. 000 is aircraft has a transponder malfunction. Okay, so if you want to indicate the ATC, there is a malfunction, you put 000. So there are a little disadvantages of mode A and C. Why? Mode A simply indicates us what? It indicates the registration mark. Okay, mode C indicates us the altitude. So these are having less number available as well. Okay, we are only having, I think, 4096 digits. Okay, or codes available, transponding codes. Now what happens is, because we are having so less codes, that means that there are, we know that there are more than this aircrafts in the world. So there is something known as garbling. This is caused by overlapping replies from two or more transponders on nearly the same bearing. Then we have fruiting. Okay, fruiting is the interference at one interrogator caused by replies from transponder responding to interrogation from another. Okay, so the difference between both of them is, garbling is this caused by overlapping replies. So if there are two aircrafts transmitting the same station, there can be something like garbling. Fruiting is what? There are two different stations trying to interrogate from the aircraft, that is called fruiting. Okay, so garbling is when, let's say, there are more than two students speaking, and fruiting is when there are two instructors right now and we are trying to communicate to you, so you might not able to hear that. Then, as I told you, the availability of codes, only 4096 identification codes are available, and we know more than this aircrafts are there, so we need more codes. That is why we have mode S. Now mode S is very, very fantastic thing that people know, because this is the point where everything changes and SSR became more useful. Mode S being reduced in order to overcome the limitations S in the mode S stands for selective addressing. The availability of the codes are this much. Okay, so it's 1,67 lakhs of the codes. I don't think there are many aircrafts like this, this number of aircrafts available. So we have these number of codes. How is that possible? We only have 4. Then how is this possible? We'll look at that. Data link. Okay, mode S can provide ground to air, air to ground, air to air also. Air to air means that one aircraft can supply information to the other aircraft. Okay, so without the consultants of the ATC, the aircraft would know the other aircraft's intentions, the flight level, okay, the call sign. That is called data link. We'll see how it works. Because of this, okay, ATC knows the position, ATC knows the altitude the aircraft is flying at, so there will be less communication. The ATC will be likely not asking what is the altitude of the aircraft because it already knows. So there is less communication and less workload on the pilots. Height readout is in the increments of 25 feet. That is the accuracy. Okay. What are the basic advantages in this? We have distinguished aircraft identification. Okay, because we're having a lot, 17 million around codes. Okay, every aircraft would actually have a different code, and this code is fixed from the time the manufacturer has built it. Okay, improved integrity of the surveillance data, as I told you. Why? Because resolve the effects of over integration, simply aircraft identification in the case of radar. Okay, so when we have a distinguished aircraft in the air, we clearly know that nothing like fruiting or garbling can happen. Okay, finally we have reduction in workload. So all in all, this is the summary of mode S. All right, there are some things which I want to tell like it'll be helpful in your flying as well. Squawk, whatever the number given to you, means that select the requested code on mode A. Okay, suppose that you've just taken off from a field. When you take off, you don't have any code. You'll be requesting from the different towers. So suppose that you request a code from ATC, some ATC around you. They will say squawk 6065. If they say 6065, that means that on your transponder, you have to put 6065. Whenever you put 6065 within the, whenever they have said it, so they immediately will know 6065. Yes, we have told Victor Tango Foxtrot Delta to squawk 6065. So this is being showed also. Squawk Charlie means select mode C or indicating select altitude. Squawk Standby means stop transmitting on mode C. If you see, we had different selected session. Okay, there was off, on, and in between we have standby. Standby is when the ATC will be requesting. We have ident also, if you remember, and we had altitude also. Finally, we have Mayday. Mayday is an absolute emergency on board, and in that case, the pilot is requesting the ATC the most help they can get. Okay. Automatic data surveillance. Now, this is a new thing that came up after Mode S. As I told you, Mode S allows even the aircraft to communicate with each other. So you can see the aircrafts are communicating between each other. All right. This will secure a lot of workload, and it will also create a lot of separation and situational awareness between the pilots. What is ADS? It stands for automatic data surveillance. ADS is a hot topic because it's really useful, and you'll also be using in the airlines. You'll not be finding this in the training days because it's not actually useful for you. You'll be flying outside, looking outside as a VFR. So ADS, what is ADS? It's a surveillance technique in which the aircraft automatically are provided with via data link. What are they provided? They're provided with a fix. Fix means that the aircraft's position. Okay. Including the aircraft identification, that is the registration mark. Okay. 4-dimensional position and data. What is data? Data is your flight level, destination, etc. etc. Okay. Even the speeds are given. What else do you need? Okay, there are two main versions of ADS currently in use. One is your ADS-B, that basically means broadcast. As we looked in the previous slide, I told you that the aircraft transmits in the omnidirection, that is all the directions. All right. What I basically meant by this was that the ADS-B is the one in which the aircraft is transponding in all the directions, just so that all the other aircrafts also know it's whatever the thing, like for example, registration and all, whatever the thing is required and selected by the particular aircraft, that is known to others. Okay. Then we have ADS-C. This is known as contract. Why is this contract? Basically, because it restricts all the things. Okay. Suppose that we have a contract between each other that I'll only give you the flight level. I'll not give you the speed. Okay. That means that this contract is built and we will supply this information only. This contract can be limited to emergencies. Okay. This could be periodic. All these things are, but of course, this is a topic for ATPL. It will not be asked in your CPL level. Okay. You can see the difference between both of them, ADC and ADB. Okay. The same thing I've explained you. Contract is basically restricted and the broadcast is for all of them. Contract could be used in your military aircrafts or your private jets which don't want to communicate a lot, VVIP things. Okay. Those are the examples. We finally discuss the primary versus secondary and end this chapter. These are the things you'll find in the notes as well. Okay, I've already explained multiple times. I don't think I have to explain once more. If you have any doubts in anything, you can ask right now.